Hello everyone, I'm Slava Klishevskaite, your host for today's live stream. Welcome everyone. Right now, I'm on a Jieshou crossing in Guangxi in southern China. Behind me flows the Xiangjiang River. Maybe you don't know where Jieshou is, but you've probably heard about Guilin, a place famous for its breathtaking views. And this is the place where I am right now. And today, we will explore this place from totally new perspective. This view seems to be very nice. We can see a nice river bank, but this view seems to be worlds away from the words like crisis and desperation. But 92 years ago, these very waters experienced one of the most dramatic breakouts in human history, the Battle of the Xiangjiang River during the Long March. People were fighting for their lives. There's a local saying, very touching, which shows how deeply the history has rooted into this place. Even years after the battle, people couldn't drink water from here or fish here. It shows how fierce this battle was. Today, the river is calm, history has moved on, but the lessons of this battle is still here with us. And we shouldn't take for granted the peace that we have now. In late November of 1934, the Central Red Army has reached Xiangjiang River. Back then, they faced a very big question. More than 300,000 enemy troops formed a huge giant trap for them, aimed to destroy the Red Army. The Red Army was fighting for 7 days, crossing the river. They succeeded, but at a devastating cost. In the beginning of the Long March, Red Army had 86,000 people, but after this battle, the number decreased to 30,000 people. So today's story is not about the victory, it's about the cost. And cost is what we will discuss today. Before coming here, my Chinese friends told me that Jieshou Crossing is an essential spot for everyone who wants to understand the history of Long March better. Because exactly this same place, it was the spot where key leaders crossed the river under heavy fire, including young Chairman Mao. They were important enemy target because they were seen as the Red Army's brain. Destroy them, cut it off, and then you can rewrite the history. If the Red Army would have failed to cross the river, then the Long March probably would have ended here, and many events that shaped modern Chinese history would have never happened. So, 92 years later, crisis and uncertainty are still here with us. There are global conflicts everywhere in many places in the world. One crisis emerges before the old one is resolved. Even in our personal lives, anxiety about future is still here with us every day, and it can get overwhelming sometimes. So we still face the same question during these hard times. How do we break through and find a way to move forward? In Jieshou Crossing, those who never made it back home gave the answer. They were willing to pay the ultimate price because they valued something more than even their own lives, because they knew that, for example, hope for future generations and for better lives of these future generations. Maybe one day you also will face your own Xiangjiang River. Then you will have two choices. Stay here and you will lose everything. Then cross the river and you still have a chance. But the real question that we face is that, what are you willing to lose? Because no big breakouts go with no price. So the question is, what are you willing to let go of, and what do you want to leave with you? And with these questions, we start our live stream today. Right now, we're in Guangxi, and Guangxi is not also a spot with a very long history. It's also a very vibrant place, which was crossroad for Southeast Asia in China for many years. Exactly the same place, like for centuries, has been a gateway for trade, culture, and deep cooperation between China and ASEAN countries. So that's why today we invited two special guests from these neighboring nations, Vietnam and Indonesia. And we're about to meet our first guest today, Dr. Duong Van Huy from Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you. Do you know where we're standing now?
We are standing in Jieshou.
Yes, yes. And this spot is actually very important because it was strategically ideal for the Red Army. It's located next to the Western Mountains, and it was easy for the Red Army to hide after the crossing. And I have several questions for you to understand your perspective better. And the first question, if we see today's world through a metaphor of crossing a river, what river are developing countries facing now, and what is the biggest shared challenge for China, Vietnam, and other ASEAN countries?
Yes. The first I introduce myself. I'm Xiang Phi, come from Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences, Institute of Assam Pacific Study. I'm a researcher. I'm studying in riverside, so how to cross river. I think it's a question very, very important for China and ASEAN countries. How to cooperation. But the first thing I want to talk about, we are facing what challenge we are facing now. We, in my personal opposition, in my I think that we are living in the uncertain world. Because the competition between the great power is growing. So it's the we get a lot of challenge from this issue. Besides the wars and conflicts happening everywhere from zero. For example, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and Middle East, and the reason is the reason that we are facing the potential security hotspots. I think so. We are facing a lot of challenge we had to overcome to respond to. So how to respond to the challenge? I think that's I come from a ASEAN country, a small country, come from Vietnam. So I know that we are as a small country, we are facing another challenge is we had to having a risk of choose side between in the relation with the great power. So it's very dangerous with the ASEAN country. So how to overcome the issue? So I think that the regional country has to cooperation together to maintain the peaceful and maintain the stability in the region and enhance the cooperation between country. I think this is important. Besides, the country in the region can get together to enhance the dialogue, because dialogue can reduce the risk. Dialogue can enhance mutual understanding. Dialogue can promote some cooperation between two sides. So I think China and ASEAN countries, including Vietnam, can get together to promote the cooperation between China and Vietnam and other countries in ASEAN to maintain the peace and maintain the stability and enhance economic cooperation. I think it's very important.
Yes. Thank you for your insight. And now let's go to the second question. For this question, let's have a look at this sculpture. Yeah, let's go here. As you can see, this sculpture shows local villagers donating their doors to the Red Army to build a bridge over the river, for the Red Army to cross the river. And it reminds us that there's no big thing that you can do alone on your own. You always need support of other people. You can see here. So my question is, do China, Vietnam, and ASEAN countries need the same ability today? And what is the most important foundation for that cooperation?
Yes, I think when I see the one, I think the cooperation between Vietnam and China is, I think, very important. Why? Because in the uncertain world for now, I think the cooperation very can reduce the risk and improve the benefits of the two countries. So I think that China and Vietnam have the recent improved a lot. For example, in the trade field, Vietnam is for now is China's biggest trade partner in ASEAN, and China is Vietnam's biggest partnership in global. So besides, China has invested a lot in Vietnam. Before China maybe invest in sometime with, for production process. Now China has companies, high-tech companies, they going to Vietnam to invest in green fuel and high-tech fuel. For example, AI or electric car, future industries. So besides China, Vietnam, China has a lot of infrastructure projects in Vietnam for now. Before the very few. For example, the railway connects between China and Vietnam. For example, the railway from Kunming, Lào Cai, Hanoi, Haiphong. We have started to build that railway. So another railway line from Nanning, Nangshan, Hanoi, Haiphong. So other railway from Tung Sinh, Hạ Long, Haiphong. Another infrastructure project, for example, the road. China and Vietnam cooperation to build a road to connect with China. So Vietnam and China's connectivities have improved a lot. It's very important for the people-to-people exchange. So many tourists from China visit Vietnam. So China for now, so far, is biggest tourist partner of Vietnam. So I think it's very important. And education. So many Vietnamese study in China, and so many Chinese students study in Vietnam. So it means that China and Vietnam has improved the mutual understanding. I think it is very important. So another Vietnam and China has get together to build the bilateral cooperation mechanism. For example, party to party China, government to government China, and local China, local to China. For example, Guangxi and Vietnam, some provinces in Vietnam, has a very close relation.
Okay, thank you for your insights on cooperation. Yes, about education is true, because I also have classmates from Vietnam who study here in China. And now the last question. Based on your research, which part of China's development experience are most valuable for Vietnam and other ASEAN countries?
Yeah, I think ASEAN countries, including Vietnam, is a development country, many development countries. So we has to learn a lot from external countries, especially from China, because sometimes China development, the model, something is very similar with the ASEAN country, for example, in Vietnam. So we can also learn a lot. For example, ASEAN country, including Vietnam, can learn China how China to build its infrastructure system. So I think because ASEAN countries maybe has a very weak infrastructure system. Roads, railways, sport, I think very few, not much. So I think it may affect to ASEAN country the economic development. So also, I think can learn from China is how China process modernization. China's style modernization. ASEAN country can learn from China. So another point I want to emphasize is how China building green economy. It is very important. So we are facing the environment problem. China before is the same.
Yeah,
so China before mentioned to China is environment environmental is still China is still facing has a lot of issue problem, but China has changed for now. Because China to green economy is very well. So ASEAN country can learn from China how to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much for your valuable insights on relationships between Vietnam and China. It was really nice to meet you, and I wish you to have a nice journey here in Guangxi. Okay, see you next time. Goodbye. and we will continue our trip here and our live stream. And during this conversation, I got struck by several thoughts and insights. Whether we're crossing a river in a history or choosing development paths today, we all have the same core challenge. It's facing uncertainty together and sharing costs and risks that come with it. So what matters the most is finding ways to move forward through cooperation. I think that's really important, just as our guest from Vietnam mentioned just now. And we're about to arrive in a very interesting place. And why is it so interesting? You're about to find out. This is Red Army Street. And I've heard that here you still can sample some of the Red Army meals that soldiers had during the Long March. And the town prepared for us some meals to try. And here we are about to meet our next guest, David Ferguson. Hello, David.
Hello, Slav. It's nice to see you.
Nice to meet you too.
Sorry about the weather.
Yeah, it's raining today.
I brought it with me from Scotland.
Oh, nice.
So shall we have a seat and a
Yeah,
chat?
we can have a seat and taste the Red Army meal. Okay.
So the first thing I have to tell you, and you guys here, you have to excuse me. I've got a cold.
Oh, it's
I
fine.
started out on the Long March, and on the very first day I found I had a cold. So I've been travelling along every day feeling ill, but I don't feel sorry for myself because I think a lot of the soldiers on the Long March, they weren't very well either, and they kept going.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, despite catching a cold. So does this meal look like something that you read before in the book? So what you expected to see?
Well, I guess I'm actually surprised by the variety.
Oh.
If you look at this meal, it's actually very interesting from a nutritional point of view. You've got corn, which has a fair amount of sugar and a fair amount of fibre, that is essentially carbohydrates. You've got sweet potatoes, which are very, very rich in nutrients. They have vitamins and a lot of fibre and a lot of carbohydrates. And then you've got peanuts, which actually contain quite a lot of protein. So you've got protein and you've got vitamins and you've got carbohydrates, but most of it is carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Now, if you think, how can people travel for months fighting battles, eating nothing but carbohydrates? If I gave this to a bodybuilder in a gym, he would say, this is no good.
Yes.
Think of a bodybuilder in a gym. What did they do? Eat enormous amounts of protein. They even eat protein supplements. So how could these guys work on this kind of diet?
Yeah.
It comes to the question of what type of people they were. If you think of the guys in the Red Army, who were they? Well, mostly peasants.
Yes.
What do peasants do? They go out in the field and they labour hard all day. And they don't have, the peasants at the time, they didn't have a lot of meat to eat. If you're out in the fields labouring hard every day, you don't build big muscles like somebody who works out in the gym.
But you get strength anyway.
You get an inner core strength. And you often see that in social media. You've maybe seen it yourself. You see these little videos where some skinny-looking guy comes into the gym and he lifts a belt.
Yeah, I've seen this video.
Yeah. And the reason is because they've got an inner core strength. Now, if you've got that inner core strength, you can keep going for a long, long time. Bodybuilder strength is great for delivering one punch, but it's not good for fighting for a long time.
Yes, probably they would never make it.
If you want to fight for a long time, you need that inner core strength. And once you've got it, it doesn't go away easily. You don't need to stuff yourself with large amounts of protein in order to keep your muscles up. That core strength stays. And as long as you've got carbohydrates and vitamins, carbohydrates give you energy.
Yeah.
As long as you've got carbohydrates, coming in, you can keep going and you can keep going. And I think that is one of the reasons. It looks unbelievable what these guys did on the Long March, but that was one of the reasons. They had an inner core strength and they had carbohydrates. Although I think, to be honest, this is probably a very generous portion compared to what they had. They must have gone through a lot of days when they weren't eating at all, and they must have gone through long times when they were only eating very little.
Yes, That is, from the perspective of a modern person, it might look like a diet meal or like a salad, not very appetizing.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right, I agree with you. It was what provided the soldiers with strength to keep going forward.
Yeah.
Yes, and back then the real conditions also were way harsher than we see
Yeah.
here. Maybe not so much food. Yes, so and back then getting a hot meal or even getting enough food was kind of a luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah, but besides physical trials, there were memorable aspects like strategy and decision making and the human spirit. So now I'd like to have a discussion with you from another perspective. From another perspective, I'd like you to talk about the strategic thinking and enduring spirit of the Red Army and that the Red Army carried through the Long March.
Well,
Yeah, because you've lived in China for many years
Yes.
and you've traveled in many places, probably across the whole country. So has this journey in Guangxi given you some new insights on the path that China has made to arrive to the point where they are now?
well, I'll come to that in a minute, but I think that the food aspect actually leads quite neatly into that question, because one of the things that's happened so far is that I have more questions than answers. The Red Army started out with 86,000 people who left Yudo, and we walked one of the tracks that they covered, and it was a single-person track. You could only walk along
So
it
it
in
was
single
very
file.
hard to go.
Well, if you think 86,000 people, even if they weren't carrying anything at all, if they're 1 meter apart, 86,000, that is a column 86 kilometers long. 86 kilometers from the front to the back.
Hard to imagine.
It's hard to imagine how they did it. And it's hard to imagine how they could eat on the way. Because did they have one canteen for every 10 people? Did they have one canteen for every 100 people? You're walking along that track, there's nowhere to actually stop. There's a track, there's a steep mountain on one side, there's a steep mountain on the other side. You think, how did they manage to get together and find enough space to actually cook something and eat it?
So maybe they didn't cook just like the meal that they had.
Well,
It's
I
just
guess
vegetables.
they guess they had to do something, but I haven't managed to work out yet how they managed it. So I hope to work that out later. But what that speaks about is a spirit of resilience, because they kept going. I mean, here we are at Jieshou Ferry, part of the Xiangjiang River crossing, where when they arrived here, they'd already fought their way through 3 blockades, and their strength had come down to maybe 60, 65,000. It's hard to say exactly, because it's hard to keep count. By the time they got across, by the time they broke through that 4th blockade, they'd lost half their strength. They were down to 30, 35,000. And yet, they kept going. A lot of armies would have given up at that point and said, okay, we're lost, we're beaten, we surrender. But they didn't. They kept on going through further hardships and further hardships and further hardships. And in a sense, the Long March is a story in microcosm about the journey that China has made from the founding of the PRC in 1949 to today. We keep going through extensive hardships, but we don't give up. And I think that spirit of resilience, I think that courage and that determination that these people showed tells you something about the Chinese character, which I've seen elsewhere. I've seen it elsewhere in China.
Even now in modern world.
And certainly in the modern world. And I'm thinking specifically of when I went to Wenchuan after the earthquake in 2008. I saw a tremendous spirit of resilience there. The strength of character of the people and the response, the mobilization, the commitment. It's a story of Chinese character as much as a historical story of things that happened. And I think that tells us a lot about why China has been able to succeed. It also gives us a pointer for the future, because things are not easy today. Particularly on the international stage, things are getting very tough. And it looks like we may face more rough times. I mean, there's been one generation of Chinese people who've had it pretty easy, but they may not be having it easy in the future. So we need to focus on the spirit of the Long March, and we need to see that as not just the story of something that happened in history, but as a story of qualities of
Yes,
character.
here
And
I
we
totally agree with you.
keep these. We need to keep these qualities, and we need to use them to confront the challenges that we face in the future.
Okay, thank you so much for your. Oh, but we still can try some food.
Well,
Would you like to try?
I've tried the sweet potatoes. They were nice. The corn, by the way, I should have mentioned this when I was talking about food. This is starchy corn. It's
Oh.
not like sweet American sweet corn.
Oh.
When I first came to China, I'd never tasted it, but they eat this in Dongbei. Now I far prefer the starchy corn to the sweet corn, and I think it's actually much better for you. I think it's much more nutritious.
Yes,
so I'm going to
probably.
start here.
Okay, I also will start here. So I've tried Chinese corn before, so I guess I only got used to this kind of corn, not the sweet one. Okay, should I eat like this? No, it's not so sweet, but still, it has some sweetness.
Not quite starchy enough for me.
I guess this is the kind of corn that I had back home. But also, it's not sweet. It's sweet corn. It's the corn like in China.
I guess they probably ate everything,
Yeah.
even the leaves.
Yeah. Yes, because back then provision was a big problem.
Yeah.
So they appreciated everything that they could have.
The other thing I don't understand yet is how did they manage to carry enough food to keep going? They're ploughing their way through these mountain tracks, crossing these torrential rivers, and yet somebody somewhere
Was
had a
carrying
bag full of
the
food
whole
on
bag
the back.
of food.
Yeah, and plus the cooking stuff.
But considering that there was more than 80,000 people,
That's
maybe they
enough.
had enough people to carry food.
Well, that's enough. A lot of sweet corn, sweet potatoes, and peanuts.
I think peanuts is a very good choice because it's high in calories. You can
High in
provide people
calories,
with energy for the whole
and
day.
it gives you protein.
Even some traditional Chinese diets, they're based on peanuts and other nuts because they provide you with nutrition that you need. Yeah, it's very nice. I'd also like to try sweet potato. I will finish my corn later.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, one of these corns is enough for me for one lunch.
Oh, yes.
I'm not a big lunch eater, so I guess on the long march, if you give me one of these corns each day for lunch, I would have thought, yeah,
And sweet
good.
potato is also
I
very
can go.
nice. Okay, so thank you so much for your insights and for your thoughts, for your experience.
Yes,
Because I have to move forward.
Move
And
on.
you can enjoy your lunch.
I won't shake your hand because my hands are all
Okay, it's
covered in
fine.
corn
Yes,
now.
as well as my
It
hand.
was good to
now.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your lunch. Goodbye.
Bye, folks.
Okay. What a nice conversation with David. It's always very interesting to talk to people like him, who was living in China for many years. And this conversation actually got me thinking, when we talk about history, we often use very huge, grand concepts like ideals, conviction, or breaking through. It sounds grand, it sounds abstract. But in fact, the history grounded into very ordinary things like meal, like we've just discussed, or a pair of shoes, or old coat. The people who changed history, actually, they weren't driven by huge slogans alone. They simply finished their meal, like we are now, and set off again. So now we're walking down the Red Army Street, a very famous street here. As you can see, there's a stone-paved road runs through the street, and there's arcade buildings on both sides. Because originally, it was a thriving commercial hub with merchants living here. So there are guild halls from Hunan province and Jiangxi province, which stood alongside businesses. And arcade's design actually is not so random. They had their own purpose. For example, they could protect people from sun and rain to create very convenient spaces for trade. And during the battle, when the Red Army came here, they explained their policies to locals and distributed some supplies. And in response, poor locals welcomed them very warmly and started donating their things like timber, ropes, and even doors for the Red Army to build bridges over the river. And after 1949, locals decided to name the street after the Red Army. So now it's the Red Army Street. Well, before we ask you a question, have you ever given up something precious for you for a bigger goal? And I've got two responses that resonated deeply with me. And now I'd like to share these responses with you. So the first story, I think this story is very interesting. 3 years ago, I trained daily at 5 a.m. for 42 kilometers marathon, cutting out all barbecues, beer, and junk food with friends. My legs ached badly after each run, and cold, rainy mornings make trainings unbearable. I pushed through and finished the race, gaining fitness and self-discipline that changed my life. I think that's a very nice story, and I'm really amazed by this person. Because what you lost actually was just some barbecues, beers, and lazy mornings. Maybe back then it seemed like a big sacrifice, but now it sounds trivial. But what you gained instead was really precious. For example, discipline to show up at 5 a.m. no matter is it raining or is it shining, and quiet confidence of a man who conquered 42 kilometers. So here we can see that life actually is a trade. What your pleasures you're willing to give up determines what future you will give. Then we can go to the next story. I quit my easy office job to launch a handmade jewelry brand overseas. I spent all my savings on supplies and worked late every night making products and replying to buyers. The first 2 years brought heavy losses and huge stress. Now I have steady, regular customers, and all my hard sacrifices finally paid off. Yes, I also want to applaud to you because this decision sounds very, very hard. And a lot of people face this kind of choice, but don't dare to try. So you traded steady job, steady pace, and free weekends for sleepless nights full of deadlines and communicating with the customers, and 2 years of losses, red ink, and stress, anxiety. But those sacrifices, they gave you something more. They earned your local customers and gave you a business which is truly yours. So here we can see as well the same logic. The comforts you let go of become the unshakable foundation for the life that you have today. And as we continue walking down the Red Army Street, we're about to meet our next guest for today, Christine from Indonesia. Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you so much. So I've got several questions for you. And the first question, you've got a tour today, River Crossing Museum, the Red Army Street. So which specific scene or moment touched you most? And did it shift or deepen your understanding of the Long March?
The first time I heard about Long March was a long time ago. We read in books, and sometimes at some point we watched at the movies. But this time with this trip, I actually have the opportunity to have a deeper feelings about it. We walk through the path, we look at the pictures, we hear the stories directly, we saw the diorama and everything. And for some reason, we felt like, oh my God, we underestimated the strength and also the dedication of the marchers in doing the Long March. So this leaves me a lot of a lot more deeper appreciation and also deeper respect for them.
Yeah, I feel the same. When you experience it in life, it feels totally different when you read it on books. So the next question, I know that you studied China for many years. And when people outside China think about China now, probably they will think of high-speed trains, EVs, technologies, robotics. But behind this shiny technology, there's something more important. So what do you think people outside need to understand to get the Chinese spirit better?
I think on the investment itself, a lot of people has this understanding that investment is just about the money. But what's quite unique with the Chinese investment in Indonesia is the fact that they promote technological transfer and also training of Indonesian human resources that would allow our human resources to develop together and also to continue the kind of technology that we sort of achieve, that we get from China. It's like, for example, the Jakarta-Bandung rail, high-speed rail, WUSH, we not only get the most advanced train by then, but we also have the trainings for the mechanics and also the workers there. So this type of investment and this type of understanding is not widely known. So I do hope like in the future, we can continue this type of cooperation where we can sort of like absorb the advancement of technology from China and apply it into our country in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you so much. And the last question, if we think of a development as of a long journey requiring persistence and overcoming obstacles, what do China and Indonesia most need to build together in years ahead? And how can the two countries keep moving forward together?
I think the one important thing is that both Indonesia and China are two big countries in Asia, and they both have very strong influence in their own kind of ways. And I think this region, Asian region, or even Southeast Asia region where I come from, we do need to face these new challenges strongly together, because like the saying in China, every generation have their own long march. And we are facing our long march now. And the region is facing a lot of challenges with geopolitics, with the unilateral tariff and everything, with the war on different continents. So I think we need to find ways to work closer together and find ways to go through these challenges as as a strong, with a strong sense of togetherness and strong sense of commitment and resilience, like the way the Long March has sort of shown us throughout the history.
Okay, thank you so much for your valuable insights.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you will enjoy your journey in Guangxi.
Yes, I will.
Have a nice time.
You too.
See you in the future.
All the best.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Also, a very nice conversation again with our guests. And now I have a very personal story to share with you. Because 8 years ago, I was standing at the banks of my personal river of Xiangjiang. As a language student back then, I had a very difficult choice to go to China, which was totally a new place for me, new culture, new language, new world, or to stay somewhere nearby my home. I knew almost nothing about China, and there were no social media back then which could give me some answers to my questions. But I've made the call, I came, and I'm still here with even more opportunities that I had back home. It wasn't easy because I have to leave my friends, leave my family, and what was the most hardest part for me, I had to leave education, 2 years of education, to start everything here in China from the scratch. People were making it worse. They were saying I was too shy, too quiet to get adapted to Chinese environment, and that I would never learn the language, and it's actually a big mistake. But I found courage, and I never regretted my choice. So the conversation got me thinking, what if I had to face this kind of choice, another river one more time? I think I wouldn't go to any opportunity at any cost. First, I would have a look at what opportunity I'm facing now. I would think, what are the real outcome, the real price, and if it lined up with my values, I guess I would go for it. So don't let the fear decide for you. And now we arrived in a very new place, interesting place. There's a traditional building behind me, which is called Sanguan Hall. And the story of this place is very interesting because originally it was a Taoist temple, and I'm very curious to see what's inside this place. So let's go there and have a look. You should be very careful on the steps because they're a bit slippery after the rain. And here we have Mr. Chen, former Deputy Director of Xinjiang County Museum. 陈老师您好。
你好。
您好，您好。
欢迎你们的到来。
谢谢。我这边有关于这个地方几个问题。就是第一个问题是，这里当时发生了什么？
我们现在处在这个地方叫三观堂。
我们可以往那边走看看。
好的。这个地方叫做三观堂。三观堂呢，原来它是一个祭祀天官、地官和水官的这么一个这个三官供奉的地方，所以叫三观堂。那么1934年冬，中央红军做出决定，中央纵队从界首渡江，界首渡江呢，从这个图我可以看到前面更清楚，它就是界首渡江以后啊，就可以到这个深山啊，红军他就日子就好过了。所以从界首渡江呢是最理想的一个地点啊。他定下来以后，结果呢，这个界首就成为红军与国民党军相互之间争夺的这么一个重要之地。因为蒋介石呢，他是要把红军全迁于湘江东岸，那么红军呢，就是要突破国民党军的第4道封锁线，所以说，不管是国民党军还是红军， 界首成为了一个必须争夺的地方。哎，这个图你可以看到。
OK， 我先可以给我们的观众翻译一下你刚才讲的这个讲解。对对，
不好意思啊。
我们没事，我听一段时间翻译一下。Okay, so now I will translate what Mr. Chen has just told us. This very building where we are now, Xiangjiang Hall, was actually the nerve center of the entire river crossing. In late November 1934, the first wave of the Red Army troops fought their way across the river and seized the spot as a temporary command post. Soon after, legendary commander Peng Dehuai took over the defense here. While organizing troops to hold off enemy attacks, he also oversaw the construction of 14 bridges to ensure that the main force and key leadership could cross this river. 好的，那我下一个问题，我们看这有比较大的一个地图，哪个叶子代表的是红军？
红色的，就代表红军，蓝色的代表国民党军，不管你看从这个红军走的线路也好，国民党军也好，直接就是中心就是要在界首这里要展开决战啊，展开决战，目的就是国民党要阻止中央纵队过江，那么中央红军呢，就为此就要死保中央纵队过江，那怎么办呢？由此产生了新圩阻击战、光华铺阻击战和角山铺阻击战，三大战役是围绕着界首展开的。最后当然是红军损失过半，但是胜利渡江。
那我先翻译一下。
好。
So actually, this is a battle map from that time. And the red arrows show where the Red Army was pushing forward. And the blue arrows, as you can see, those are the enemy closing in. And if you look closer, you'll see why this was so desperate. The Red Army was blocked from the front, chased from behind, and flanked on both sides. They were completely surrounded. But fortunately, the three major blocking battles fought around Jieshou succeeded in holding back the enemy offensive. The Battle of the Xiangjiang River that followed was also centered around Jieshou. 然后就是我看这个图，当时红军好像机会真的非常的少，而且我看这些装备，尤其是也比较简单，比如这些老式的通讯设备，然后枪上那个蓑衣，就是他们好像什么都没有，是吧？
当时呢，这个红军队伍的装备啊，是非常落后的。你比如说武器，红军使用的是小米加步枪。国民党军呢，天上有飞机，地下有大炮，所以说从装备来讲，国民党占绝对的优势，而且人数也有红军的几倍。就是在这种情况下，在这个地方发生的激烈战争。
Okay, so at that time, the Red Army faced severe shortages of supplies. They had almost no modern military equipment, and certainly none of the advanced gear often portrayed in films and dramas today. What was the Red Army up against at that time? It was the nationalist forces with aircraft. 然后我还听说过你们有一个采访，就是有一个兄弟，然后哥哥讲了他弟弟的故事。你可以讲一讲吗？
可以的。因为我采访过不少湘江战役的这个见证者，其中呢有2位是兄弟过江，他是江西人。过江的时候呢，他们在江那边的时候，2兄弟还在一块，结果过江以后，2个人就分散了。分散以后就再也没有联系，那个弟弟呢，脚又受了伤。或者就在当地啊，就留了下来。采访他说：“哎呀，那个时候太苦了。我们那个那么冷的天啊，衣服就是一件，而且有些还破旧，鞋也就是穿草鞋的多，所以说红军是在这么艰难的环境下，就凭着 自己的远大理想，不怕牺牲，战胜困难，取得胜利。
Okay, just now Mr. Chen shared a very touching story with us. That was a time that he interviewed a Red Army veteran whose older brother was separated from family during the Battle of the Xiangjiang River and was never heard again. One thing that he sat with him ever since. He told him that conditions were so harsh that many of them didn't even have enough clothing to keep themselves properly covered, and yet even in these hard circumstances, the army held so fast to its ideals and remained determined to overcome every hardship in the past. 就是听完这个，真的让我非常的震撼，而且非常的感动这个故事。然后我看着面上还有一些字，这些字它们代表什么？
这个是当时中央军委，也就是在我们这个所在地，三官堂发出的电文。电文呢，因为刚刚开始的时候，渡江这个已经非常紧迫了。这个时候呢，电文的第一句话是什么呢？10万火急。到29号以后啊，战争进入白热化，它就是万火急。这个战争越来越厉害。在这种情况下，并且电文告诉我们，一日战斗关系我野战军这个全部，就是1号我们能不能顶得住。这个时候，因为这个阻击战的战士们都不断的跟中央军委汇报，我们快顶不住了，你们要快过江啊！不管怎么样，他们当时只要是中央纵队还没有全部过江，他们就会哪怕是流尽最后一滴血，也要为苏维埃新中国这个做出贡献。你看他最后讲到，我们不为胜利者，即为战败者，胜负观全局。就说如果说1号这天我们还不能把这个问题解决好，那红军就过不了江了。那肯定就是一次这个失败的战斗。
Now the question was about the characters on the wall. So during the battle, the commanders at the front lines were sending urgent telegrams to headquarters, and the phrases used were equivalent of emergency and extreme emergency. So there was only one question: when can the main part of the army cross the river? In one telegram from December 1st, there was a line that says everything. We will either be the winners or the defeated. There was nothing in between. Hold the line and survive, or lose it and the revolution ends right here. 然后还有最后一个问题，这个湘江战役对于今天的年轻人来说还有什么样的意义？
这个意义特别的大，我认为。因为呢，这个战争已经过去90年，我们要讲的不是牺牲了多少人，我们要总结这个经验。长征精神为什么会激励红军能够最终取得胜利？它是一个革命理想高于天的这种情况下，在最艰苦的环境下取得胜利，克服困难。因为我们都知道，在学校现在很多的学生家庭条件特别好到家里面吃的、住的、睡觉的什么都有都有。那么他们对这种人对待的困难，人对待的事物的责任性是怎么样的，往往不了解。只有将红军的这种精神传承下去，他们才能够更多的实现自己的远大目标所以说现在要探讨这个问题，就是要弘扬红军精神。
Okay, so the question was about what young people in China can learn from this experience. And this experience, the story is not about how many people passed away. It's about the experience and the spirit that the Long March that shows us. This is a classic example of a smaller force holding its grounds against a much larger one. But beyond the history books, there's something here for all of us, especially for young people. When a student fails an exam, it can feel like the end of the world. When things get hard, it's really easy to give up. But think about what those soldiers faced. No food, no clothes, surrounded on all sides, not like we now. We all have houses and food and clothes. And they didn't stop. So the lesson is simple. If they could push through that, we can push through our own challenges too. 陈老师非常的感谢您给我们这个讲究，我真的今天学到了很多，就是很好，就是很有用的知识。谢谢你。
我也感谢你们，能够把这个湘江精神啊，传播得更广，是吧？在更多的领域中，让人家去了解湘江战役，是吧？学习湘江战役的精神，对他们今后都会有很大的好处。
Okay. Thanks to Mr. Chan. And I actually am deeply moved by this story because even facing overwhelming odds, the Red Army, the soldiers, never stopped, they never wavered. And I think it can provide a very valuable glimpse into what it means to stay true to your ideals for our audience. Don't stop no matter what, because your situation is probably better than the one that soldiers in a long march are facing. So I would like to share my honest reflection here. For standing on this riverbank, they face the same questions as we're facing now when we have our challenges. Did they feel the same hesitation, the same fear? Probably yes. And yet they knew that something matters more than fear. So today our dialogue and conversation, it wasn't just about Chinese history. It was about what are you willing to lose? I read some comments. Some people shared that they already experienced some huge losses, and some people told me that now they had to make a very difficult choice. We're here not to give the answer. We're here just to show you and say you that you're not alone in your struggles. And if you're standing at the edge of your old Xiangjiang River, just remember, maybe already deep down there, you already know the answer. But the thing that you need is just a bit of courage. So our next stop is Dongyi in Guizhou province, where after a devastating setback, the Red Army stopped, reflected, and chose another direction. So see you at the next stop. Thank you for joining us today and keep walking.
Thank you so much again for your